وما كان المؤمنون لينفروا كافة فلولا نفر من كل فرقة منهم طائفة ليتفقهوا في الدين ولينذروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم لعلهم يحذرون.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. In this episode, on our discussion on the Islamic rulings concerning contemporary issues, we will be discussing LC, which is letter of credit. Letter of credit, which is known in Islamic jurisprudence as Risalatul I'timad, is a document issued by a bank to guarantee payment between a buyer and a seller, between an importer and an exporter. And this is to reduce the risk between the two parties. How does the bank issue this document? Now, let's assume somebody wants to import something from a different country to his country, for example, from China to Nigeria. And this person importing these goods is scared of the risk involved. And also the company in China that will be exporting the goods to Nigeria is also scared of the risk involved. Now, to reduce this risk, the bank would come in between the buyer and the seller, the importer and the exporter. And the bank would have an agreement with the company in China that they should bring the goods to Nigeria. And when the goods arrive in Nigeria, the bank would pay the company in China. Now, this company in China would export the goods to Nigeria. After the bank has gone through the goods and the bank is sure that everything is complete according to the terms of the agreement, then the bank would pay the company in China. Now, what is the Islamic rulings concerning such transaction? Concerning letter of credit. This is how everything this is how Islamic rulings gets involved in this transaction. Now, the bank would request two payments from the buyer, the person in Nigeria. Now, what are the two payments? The number one payment is that the bank would request the buyer to pay money for the services rendered by the bank for this person, the buyer in Nigeria. And this money that the person will be paying to the bank for the services of the bank is considered halal. It's not forbidden. It's considered halal. It's either is halal as a form of payment, which is al-ijara, or is halal as a form of reward, which is al-ju'ala. We might be confused. We might think that what is the difference between al-ju'ala and al-ijara? Though linguistically, they might refer to the same thing, but literally in Islamic jurisprudence, they mean different things. Because al-ijara is al-aqd, and because it is al-aqd, it is lazim. Why al-ju'ala is not al-aqd? Now, it's either the person pays this money to the bank as a form of ijara, a payment for the services rendered to the person by the bank, or as a form of reward from this person to the bank. Whichever the case, al-ijara or al-ju'ala, because we are not here to discuss al-ijara and al-ju'ala. I don't want to dig deep into this discussion. Whoever wants to know the difference between or the differences between al-ju'ala and ijara can ask the question in the comment section. However, whether either it is a form of al-ijara or a form of al-ju'ala, this payment is considered halal, because to pay somebody for the services the person rendered to you or to reward somebody for his services is considered halal in Islam. So there is no problem concerning this payment. Now the problem is about the second payment, which is the capital, the money that the bank paid to the company in China. Now let's assume all of the goods cost the bank 10 million naira. And the bank has paid the money to the company in China. Now the bank is requesting the money, to the refund of the money from the buyer. Now the bank paid 10 million naira to the company. Now that the bank is requesting a refund, the bank will tell the buyer to refund 11 million naira. 10 million naira for the actual amount of money that the bank paid. An additional 1 million naira for the bank. This additional 1 million naira, is it halal or is haram? There is no doubt, especially for those that have been following the discussion from the beginning, there is no doubt that this transaction is haram, because this is a clear riba. This is an interest. An interest in Islam is haram. Now, as a believer, you are not allowed to give interest, neither are you allowed to receive interest. Now, you as a believer that wants the bank to issue a letter of credit for you, between you and the company in a foreign country, how then do you request this document when it involves riba, interest? So this is how to bypass interest in this discussion. If you can still remember, in the previous discussions, we've discussed about interest in bank transactions. We mentioned some means of avoiding and bypassing interest while dealing with the bank. And among the means and methods we mentioned is bay'ul umla, which is selling of currency. And we discussed this particular method, we faulted it, and we explained that it is problematic. However, scholars also have scholars have modified this method, and they have solved the problem involved in this method to make it halal and allowed. Now, how does this method involve this transaction between the buyer and the bank? This is how it involves this transaction. Now, the buyer, whom the bank has issued this letter on his behalf, is a believer, a Muslim, and he does not want to engage and involve in interest because he knows that interest is haram. Interest is forbidden. However, he needs the bank to issue this letter, and the bank is requesting additional 1 million naira upon or above the money that the bank would be paying on behalf of this buyer. Then how does the person get involved in this transaction without having to stain himself with interest? This is how to do it. The person will tell the bank that you want me to pay additional 1 million naira. And this transaction, the company in China is requesting for 10 million naira. And you want me to pay additional 1 million naira. Okay, I will pay the money. But this is how we are going to do it. Because I am a Muslim and I do not want to get involved in an interest. So I would want us to change and modify this transaction, and this is how we are going to do it. You would pay the company in China with foreign currency. It's either you pay the company in China in dollars or you pay the company in China in Chinese currency, which is yuan, I think. So this money you will be paying the company in China in this foreign currency will be equal to or equivalent to 10 million naira in Nigerian money. However, when it is time for me to refund the money to you, I'm going to refund the money to you I'm going to refund 11 million naira. This 11 million naira will not be the exact money you pay to the bank, you pay to the company in China. Rather, it will be like I am buying the money, that foreign currency you paid to the company in China. I am buying the foreign currency from you with 11 million naira. So by doing this, there is no a riba involved, there is no interest involved, and this transaction is halal and it is not haram. So this is called Bay'ul Umla. If you should look at this, Bay'ul Umla literally means that the person is buying a currency. It is like, instead of the person to pay the bank for the money the bank had paid to that company, the person will be buying the money that the bank paid to that company. And for this buying of money, this transaction to be halal, that money must be in a foreign currency. Then this person will buy the money from the bank, the money the bank paid to the company, which is in a foreign currency, the person will buy the money from the bank. And the problem that this method had, which we mentioned in the previous discussion, is that it is not allowed to buy the same currency. It is not allowed to, in Islam, it is not allowed to buy the same currency. I'm not allowed to buy naira with naira. But when I'm buying a foreign currency, for example, dollars with naira, it is allowed. Now, by doing this, this person has not gotten himself involved in an interest. So, and the transaction is halal. The bank has gotten the extra 1 million naira, the additional 1 million naira that the bank is requesting, and the person has also gotten his goods without getting involved in interest. So this transaction is halal. This is the way or the method of bypassing interest while requesting a document or letter of credit from the bank. Now, we promised that we would be discussing also a brief discussion on some topics on social issues. The topic we'll be discussing in this episode is about consuming or eating what is not halal. For example, it has become a norm and has become normal in our society that when we walk past a tree and the tree has fruit, we just pluck the fruit and eat the fruit. When you pluck a fruit of a tree that does not belong to you and it belongs to somebody else, without the permission from that person, that fruit becomes haram. And we all know the negative impact of consuming haram in Islam. It has spiritual negative impacts on your soul and on your body. So it is better you do not consume that fruit, except the person gives you the permission. It's either the person gives you a direct permission, or you know that the person has issued a general permission for anybody that would want to pluck the fruit. It's either you go to the person to seek permission and the person allows you in person that you should go ahead and pluck the fruit, or you know that the person does not have any problem or any issue with anybody plucking the fruit. The person allows anybody to pluck the fruit. And also, if you know that the person allows everybody to pluck the fruit within a frame of condition, within some condition, for example, the person might allow it, but the person would not want anybody to throw a stone to the tree, then you should avoid throwing a stone. Because when you do not respect the condition, then you will not meet up to the condition for the permission that the person has issued. Then when you pluck the fruit will be considered haram. So when next you walk by a tree and the tree does not belong to you, the tree has fruit, you should go to the person, the owner of the tree, to get a permission from the person. And if you know that the person has issued a general permission, then you can go ahead and pluck the fruit. And when you know that this general permission or this personal permission that the person issued generally or issued to you in person is within a group of conditions, then you must respect that conditions. So inshallah, we will be stopping here, and in the next episode we will be discussing a new topic. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.